You're listening to Frontlines, a podcast for the people that truly make mountain biking happen. Not the riders, racers, or product designers, but the builders, advocates, and the often forgotten board members of your local mountain bike trail association. The last 8 episodes, we've explored the theme of inclusivity. Whether it's speaking to guests on why inclusivity is so important, or hearing from experts about various ways that we can increase diversity within mountain biking to better reflect the greater surrounding world, I hope you've learned something new. I know I have a number of times over. Now, we're certainly not done with this discussion, and I'm sure it will continue to be a theme throughout this entire podcast. That said, I'm excited to introduce a new topic of discussion that we'll be covering over the next 3 episodes. My guests come from 3 organizations, each larger than the one previous. The final episode of this trilogy will be a discussion with the new executive director of the International Mountain Bike Association, David Weins. But without getting ahead of myself, I'm your host, Brent Hillier. You're listening to episode 11 of Frontlines. A couple years back, I went to Sea Otter for the first time, and one of the very first things that I saw when I rolled into the venue was a camper van with a few bikes strapped to the back and a bumper sticker with the words, IMBA sucks. After a good chuckle, I asked myself, does IMBA suck? As mountain bikers, we have this instinctual hatred for any organized governing body. It's a muscle reaction from evolving from a fringe sport. Because of this, we trust boots on the ground and small grassroots groups made up of builders and riders. Many of these grassroots clubs grow as organizations, and some will evolve and become successful trail associations. A successful trail association is one that works with land managers and other stakeholders. And unfortunately, as a club gets bigger, the enemies within the mountain bike community seem to increase as well. So how big can a club get before enough mountain bikers no longer trust it, and the organization fails to get the support of the community they claim to be working for? And the second question is, why, as mountain bikers, do so many of us not see the benefits of working together? Despite the cost, there are huge advantages. My guest is Thomas Schoen. He's the chair and president of the Cariboo Mountain Bike Consortium, a grassroots organization in the Caribou-Chilcotins region of British Columbia, surrounding the community of Williams Lake. Hi, Thomas. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me on. Really excited to talk to you about mountain biking.
Yeah. So what is the Cariboo Mountain Bike Consortium?
Excellent question to start out with, because it's often misunderstood what exactly our role is. In a nutshell, we are a tourism marketing initiative. We are the second largest tourism marketing group in BC's interior, mostly working out of Williams Lake, but we've got a couple other partner communities I can talk about later. But yeah, we promote tourism. We want to get people to ride the trails in the interior of BC, and we're doing this from a mountain bike perspective. Obviously, our thinking is, our thought is, in order to have a marketable product, we need to invest in development. So really our work branches out in many areas. Like, again, first of all, we are promoting the trails in the area, our mountain bike infrastructure. But in order to have a kick-ass product, we're constantly adding to the trail networks in the interior, and we do that by providing assistance to local mountain bike clubs. We found that a lot of the smaller local communities and clubs don't have the capacity to take on a ton of administrative work, or or there is a lack of interest in taking on this administrative work. And that's exactly where the Caribou Mountain Bike Consortium steps in. Our directors do the grant writing, we do the liaison work with First Nations and the communities in the interior, and we're gonna get things rolling. If you need assistance dealing with Ministry of Rec Sites and Trails, we can step in because we have the experience. So yeah, to summarize it, we're a marketing group, but we heavily concentrate on infrastructure developing to have a product to market.
So who's included in this consortium?
We are a relatively small group of directors. We have a board of directors. We are a non-profit organization, and we work with 4 communities at the moment. Starting on the southern end of our corridor, it's the community of 100 Mile House, then Williams Lake, Quesnel, and the smaller mountain community of Wells and Barkerville, so the district of Wells. So 4 communities at the moment, but we're in discussion with Bella Coola. There's a lot of mountain bike development happening in the Bella Coola Valley right now, so we'd like to take that community into our group and expand a bit to the west there. And yeah, so those are the 4 main communities that are supporting us on a regional municipal level, and it's only a board of directors. The reason we don't have a general membership is because we are not competing with any of the local clubs. We don't want to take membership away from the local mountain bike clubs, so we we keep it to the board of directors.
So when did this concept start?
We started in 2011. Our group was spearheaded by my friend Justin Kaloff. He came up with the idea and the concept. He saw that need, and we hired him as our executive director. He worked for a few years out of Williams Lake, and then the other guy who really was involved right from the beginning was Mark Savoy, the owner of a local bike shop here at Shreds, and yeah, he's crucial on keeping us on track and keeping this organization going.
With this region, it's a fairly large geographical region. Mm-hmm. What would you say average driving time between these communities are? How long would it take for you to get from one community to the next?
If you do the jump from community to community, it's roughly an hour in between communities. You can easily drive from 100 Mile House up to Williams Lake in an hour. Same idea. You can drive to Quesnel in an hour, and then again it's exactly an hour to Wells and Barkerville. So really it's about a 4-hour drive from one end of the trail, of the regional trail network, to the other end, if you're going up to Wells. And we are developing trails along that corridor. Just in the last 2 years, with the help of the Soda Creek First Nations, just north of Williams Lake, we've developed a trail network in between Williams Lake and Quesnel now. And the same thing is happening between 100 Mile House and Williams Lake and 150 Mile House. There is more development, new trails being built by the Williams Lake Indian Band, a dedicated First Nations trail crew there. So we're filling the gaps, and the idea behind that is to give visitors more options. Obviously, it's really cool if you can break up your drive. You ride at a trail network along the Highway 97 corridor, and if you feel like it, you get your partner to drop you off for a quick 20-minute shuttle rip, or you go for a pedally ride in between, pitch your tent somewhere, and then hit the next community the following day, kind of deal.
Yeah, this is quickly becoming one of the big destinations for mountain bikers on and I would even say beyond Vancouver, but the West Coast in general. Where are you seeing people are coming from when they visit the interiors right now?
We are collecting a lot of statistics. We're really good when it comes to tracking our visitor statistics, and we offered or the city of Williams Lake, I should say, offered a free shuttle service 2 summers ago to collect additional data, and we can really see a lot of or most of our out of region visitors coming from the lower mainland. I'd say most of the riders are coming up from the lower mainland, but we also get a relatively large group of riders from the north coming to our area simply because the trails open up earlier in the season, often late March, April. Our trails are snow free. Our riding season is on, so people who are itching to get a ride in from Prince George, Burns Lake, Smithers, the northern corridor are making the weekend trips down to Williams Lake to ride our trails. So it really varies a bit depending on the time of year, but in general we can say most of our out of region riders are coming from the lower mainland, with a growing segment from the northwestern United States. Like, the word is out that there is some good riding here in the interior and different riding, dry country, open fir forest. So yeah, people are coming.
Well, I think that's a testament to the fact that you can go there and spend more than even just a weekend. You know, you can go there and spend a full week. Like, with all of these communities in relatively close proximity, like this is becoming a vacation destination. Like, you can spend a week on the sea to sky corridor, or you can go up there and spend a week up there, right? And it's suddenly becoming a very comparable option for mountain bikers, which is pretty incredible. You know, and that's something that I would assume the consortium played a huge role in doing. So what were some of the projects, what were some of the undertakings that the consortium took on to really get that tourism drive to come out to the region?
We really started out with a bang when we developed the new Williams Lake signature trail in 2012, 2013, Snakes and Ladders, huge development, a number of local builders involved, a massive amount of wooden structures, suspension bridges, a really unique trail that quickly became Williams Lake's signature trail, easily shuttable, but a lot of options of climbing up to the top, a real mixed bag, so to speak. You know, there's something on the trail for everyone, from gnarly, steep, loose sections to old school wooden stunts, and we wanted to bring that back a bit. That was something the local riding community wanted to see, is have some of the 15, 20-year-old wooden structures rebuilt, but to a higher standard, but in the same theme. So that was really the first big project that the consortium pulled off. We secured funding. We administered the project together with the Williams Lake Cycling Club. And then other communities approached, outlying communities came, said, hey, can we do something similar? How can we create the same hype in our community? Williams Lake is definitely our center. We are focused on Williams Lake because we have the most trails, and it's known in the riding community. So in some of the other communities, we have to start building infrastructure more from the ground up, with signage, mapping, even just building more of a club culture in those communities. Quesnel is a really prime example, and just recently, last year, the Quesnel got on board with starting the process of developing master trail network planning. So we are on the right track there. But yeah, it all started out with a regional signature trail in Williams Lake.
You mentioned club culture, and why is that so important?
We need club culture, and the number one reason is volunteers and community buy-in. Williams Lake is a really good example. We're not it doesn't matter so much to us who is who is who are the political leaders at any given time. You know, we get support from all kinds of political groups. If mayor and council changes, for example, it doesn't mean our programs are getting shut down, because in Williams Lake, everyone has a son, a nephew, a niece, a brother who's into mountain biking. Almost every person in that community is somehow connected to mountain biking. They see people riding their bikes, they own businesses, they supply services to mountain bikers, or they have a personal connection as a rider or as a relative of riders. So to keep this mountain bike culture up and keep awareness up, a large club membership is important to us. We want to show high numbers to our local and regional politicians. That's number one. Number two is we need a club to have a large volunteer trail building and trail maintenance crew. We need people to help us. We can't do it always with government funding or with donations. So we need and we want local riders to go out and help us maintain the trails and build new trails. And that's really where the club culture comes in. Besides all the social aspects of having group rides, having friends to ride with, creating events and hosting events. So mostly it comes down to the volunteer base and local support.
Is there any resistance with some communities and not wanting that tourism attention, like not wanting that traffic, that additional traffic on their trails?
Yes, that's certainly a discussion that comes up with some riders. Also, I have to say the group that is in that corner is not as verbal and as outspoken. So we don't often directly hear it. We hear it indirectly from other riders who tell us about people who are not happy with our approach. There is certainly a group out there that is not in support of what we are doing, because they, so to speak, want to keep the trails to themselves. Mm-hmm. Frankly, in my point of view, legal trails are great. We want our trails protected. We want as many riders on our trails. It increases our chances on funding. We can keep the trails maintained, and we don't have a problem. We're not the sea to sky corridor. We're not Squamish. You're not out there and you're seeing hundreds of riders on any given day. You can still ride up here and run into very few other mountain bikers if you're out there for a day or half a day. So it's really not so much of an issue, but I have to acknowledge that group is out there, but it is changing. You know, it's right now I can give you a really good example. In Williams Lake, the forest surrounding the community of Williams Lake has a recent beetle attack. Trees need to be taken out. It's done by helicopter logging or by on-ground crews. So a lot of our trails are impacted. A lot of those trails were built by volunteers anywhere between the 1990s and now, and those trails are all protected. So if a logging company comes in, they need to do beetle salvage logging in those areas. They have to negotiate with us through the government, through rec sites and trails. We have a stake. We'll talk to them. They give us money to repair the damage that's done to the trails, and that gets back to the riders or to the volunteer trail builders who are somewhat opposed to that whole system of legal trails, and it changes their mind, and it changes their behavior, because they see, hey, there is something to having a legal trail network, because all of a sudden my work is protected. I don't have to worry about these trails being taken down.
Definitely a discussion I've had in past episodes is the advantage to legal trails, and there's a lot of opposition to it, and there's a lot of challenges to legalizing trails, and I certainly don't want to take away from those challenges, and sometimes it can be easier to just grab a shovel, go out and scrape in a line, but at the end of the day, those trails are exposed to being decommissioned, and there's advantages to doing things the right way. And it sounds like you guys are doing that, which is great.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of listeners right now are kind of thinking like, this sounds familiar. It sounds almost like the Cariboo Mountain Bike Consortium, and they're very similar to IMBA and like a chapter program. And what's the difference between you and something like IMBA or Evergreen, this kind of chapter umbrella trail association?
I think the biggest difference is the grassroots approach and our close connectivity to the local and the regional governments. They acknowledge what we're doing. We have a foot in the door. We can pick up the phone and call the mayor of the 4 partner communities and say, hey, we need your help. We've got an issue here. How can we work to get funding for Trail X? What could be our next project? We do get the support because we live and work in these communities, and I really think that's where the local or the regional approach comes in. If we work with our regional funding agencies, from the Beetle Action Coalition to Northern Development Initiative Trust, they know us. They've been working with us for years. They get our ideas, they get our proposals, and we have established a real close working relationship. The same is true when it comes to the regional district, in our area, the Caribou Regional District. So we are well connected, and that's just easier on a regional level than on a provincial or national level.
What would you say to a trail association or a bike club that's kind of thinking that maybe this is something that might work for them? Maybe they've got a couple neighbors that are relatively close to them, and they would want to start a consortium. What's kind of the first thing to think about when thinking about starting something like the Mountain Bike Consortium?
I think the first thing is you have to get the buy-in from your local mountain bike clubs. You don't want to come across as an organization that's completely removed from those grassroots clubs. You have to make it very clear that you there to help them, not the other way around. You there to lend administrative support, fundraising support, grant writing support, assistance in trail development and trail building. I think once you have that buy-in, you're set. There might not be a need for an organization like the Cariboo Mountain Bike Consortium if you have a really strong club that spreads beyond your community borders, but that's very, very rarely the case. So I would really encourage other regions, other areas to look at that model. I think a model like this could work extremely well for communities in the Kootenays, in the Okanagan, and in the north. If you look at the whole corridor from Prince George to Smithers, you could include Burns Lake in a group like that. And we are on the radar of a lot of mountain bike clubs and a lot of mountain bike advocates. So they are aware of what we are doing, and they're definitely looking at that model. We're here to help to set you up a model like this. We're happy to lend support. I mean, we're mountain bike enthusiasts and advocates, and if other regions can follow that model, we're all for it.
What's next for the consortium? What's the plans for 2017?
Huge regional mountain bike development project. We want to put the whole area on the map once again with the Dessous Mountain trail upgrade project. The Sioux Mountain is about 30 minutes west of Williams Lake. A lot of your listeners will be familiar with it if they have been to the Caribou region. A lot of out-of-town tour groups visit Dessous. It's very, very suitable for network expansion. There always have been trails on Dessous, but we wanna expand and develop it. We're working on an up trail, long 17-kilometer climbing line to the top of the mountain. New downhill trails, big campsite development. We want to be able to host events out there. It's a big project. We secured a lot of funding. The work has already started. We're just signing partnership agreements with local First Nations. We will be using that whole network there as a bit of a training facility for First Nations crews. We're working with TRU in Kamloops on a program where we'll be training mountain bike trail builders for a few days at the Sioux Mountain. So a huge multi-phase project, probably a 3-year project, and we just got started in November of 2016, and we're gearing up full swing to get crews out there as soon as the snow's gone.
Awesome. Yeah. And Dessous is, as far as my favorite places to ride, Dessous is probably top 3. It is an unbelievable spot. So any expansion that goes on over there would be absolutely amazing for sure.
Awesome.
What's the best way for people to follow and to see what you guys are up to?
We have, and I should have mentioned that earlier when you asked how we got started and what our first main project was. Definitely our website. We have a website that we constantly update. We feature regional news, a bit of provincial news, and the address is ridethecaribou.ca. And we just incorporated a winter site where we're now featuring winter activities. We find our target market is very much the same than winter enthusiasts, skiers, backcountry skiers, snowboarders. So we incorporated a winter site. If you go to ridethecaribou.ca right now, you'll land on our winter landing page, and from there on you can navigate to all the other pages. So yeah, you can certainly get in touch with us, and you can follow what's going on here in the Caribou through our website.
Awesome. Well, Thomas, thanks for taking the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for what you're doing. It's always good to get the word out on advocacy and mountain bike development in British Columbia. I really appreciate it, and I hope some of your listeners will be in touch with our group, and we can form some partnerships in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thomas mentioned the term signature trail. It's a term I've heard a few times, and when it comes to marketing a mountain bike tourism destination, having a signature trail is key. That one recognizable trail or even feature can sometimes be the single draw for a rider to visit a trail network. Having a robust and diverse network, as well as a fun and engaged community, might be the reason for those visitors to then spread the word and tell 2 friends to visit. But it can be a single photo of a feature or a section of trail that spurs the interest of that original visit. And that's such a mountain biker quality. You see something that looks like it could be good, and you just need someone to explore it and come back with the beta. That quality is also the reason why illegal trails aren't sustainable. We as mountain bikers are social creatures. We will inevitably tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. There's value to sanctioned trails. And playing by the rules, although can be challenging and frustrating, has its advantages. When the trails in Williams Lake were being logged, the Mountain Bike Club was at the table for negotiations to have the damaged trails repaired or receive funding to do the repairs themselves. Thomas also touched on the fact that rider traffic is a concern, But compared to other regions, the Caribou will never see the types of numbers that the Vancouver, Squamish, Whistler region will see. My guest next episode comes from a popular region. Yvonne Krause is the executive director of the Evergreen Mountain Bike Association in the state of Washington. We'll discuss their recent lobby day, where board members visit state legislators in the capital to speak for mountain biking access and funding. If you have anything to comment about this episode, past episodes, and future episodes, then you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @BrenskyBikeski. Brand new this week, you can follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @FrontlinesMTB. So head over to your favorite social media app and give us a like. Big thanks to those who have already done that. Any news or info about upcoming episodes will be posted there. And if you want to help the show by supporting it, you can head over to bikeski.ca/support and donate via PayPal. And funds received will go towards web hosting costs and new equipment so that Frontlines can continue to bring you the best content possible. If you'd like to include your voice in a future episode, then please send me an audio file and I'll try to include you. Just email me at brent@bikeski.ca. And if you or someone you know is interested, Frontlines is currently looking for contributors. I'm hoping to grow the team and expand the voices of the podcast, providing some additional perspective and opinions. If you haven't done so already, rate the podcast on iTunes or whatever podcatcher you're using. It helps others find the show. Music is once again provided by Lee Rosevier and production notes by Jennifer Pride. And finally, I'm Brent Hillier. This is Frontlines. Thanks for listening, and happy trails.